Okay, so our topic for today, we're going to take on the broad topic of basically kind of what we cover in the book, which we're talking about in a second,
Yep.
but
Yep.
um, the 5 steps that we've talked about many
Right.
times before. We're going to kind of reiterate them all in one video. We haven't done it for a while.
Yeah.
So the 5 core
The
steps.
reason, yeah, the reason we're recovering this is part of my thought process. And I don't want to go into, and I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I was on a Twitter space. I got in on a Twitter space, and they were talking about how to find a job. And I wasn't one of the speakers, and and I don't want to assume that I know everything, but like these are well-known like Twitter people. They have YouTube channels. They're clearly talented creators, and I don't want to put out any names on it, but like they're just wrong, man. It's like I don't think they understand how they do it, and so they're giving advice, and it's just like wow. I mean, like you don't even like really look at yourself and say, how did I get this job, or how do I win interviews,
Right.
or and so like the 5 steps in the book is really how I sell things, like and how I sell consulting projects or how I sell myself when I was interviewing. And then I had to go back and look and it's like, why did I win that job? Like, why am I special? Am I smarter than everyone else? The answer
Right.
is no, I'm not smarter. I mean, I'm not a better programmer, but I'm actually a pretty decent interviewer. As you'll see tomorrow, I'm going to interview in the video tomorrow.
Yep.
So like, this isn't about me tooting my own horn. It's about like, all these people that want to learn how to code, they a lot of people fail at it for various reasons, and we know some really big overarching ones, and the reason where we see it, and our experience comes from trying to get students that come through our boot camp to do the things we ask them to do so they can get a job, and then they fail because of certain reasons. Sometimes, even ones that come through our boot camp fail because they don't follow the advice as they should.
Right. That's it. So we're going to
But
talk
then
about
there's
these five
some
steps.
that do it and like they're employed before the boot camp's over.
Right. Which Zachary came on yesterday and said exactly that.
Yeah,
Exactly that. And he's followed the advice and he's doing the right things. So we're going
yeah,
to talk about those 5 steps. You can find the 5 steps in the book. I do have the book as a promo here. This is
yeah.
literally
Breaking the code.
so it's part 2 of this book. So just so you know, it's not the only parts in this book. Let me show you real quick. It's it's like this. What is it? It's like this middle section right here. So it's this section. If I was to section up the book, it's this bit right here. That's the 5 steps. So it's the core. It's the core of the book. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I do want to talk about one thing first.
All
Our
right.
sponsor, Coldest Water.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I promised that I
Thank
would
you.
put hot liquid in this, and I've been testing it with hot liquid. So here's the thing about this with these hot liquids. I put tea in this over an hour ago. It's still very, very, very hot. I forgot I put the lid on it, right? So I put the lid on. I left it for about 45 minutes, and I picked it up thinking like, oh man, tea, it's gonna be. It was red hot, like it was as hot as when I put it in. So I will vouch
Okay.
for this thing working with hot drinks, and it's still hot now,
Yeah.
even with the lid off. It's still hot. So yeah, check out Coldest Water. There's a link in the description that they have a giveaway, and you can also get 10% off
Yeah.
any of their product on their webpage. The code is down below. It is CF10.
All right. Cool. Check them out. We appreciate it.
So, what's step 1?
So step one obviously is you've got to embark on the journey of learning to code. Okay. So that seems obvious. So you got to pick something, but inside that step is, I think, the one biggest mistake people are making, and we see it over and over again,
Yes, we do.
is trying to figure out like what the stack is. Okay. And they're trying to figure out like, what do I learn? There's a lot to, when I say learn to code, and a lot of this means different things to a lot of people. And so when you're just learning, it is super confusing because there's so much stuff out there. And so like, what do I need to learn? What stack do I pick? What language do I pick? What tools do I use? And so like we've given this advice over and over again, and we do it inside the book, which is number one, figure out what you want to build, which is it's either going to be mobile, it's going to be web, it's going to be maybe a data science solution, or maybe you want to build something like embedded or want to work on devices, things like that. Figure out that first. Now, if your goal is, I just want a software job, I don't really care. I don't have no idea what I want to build. Our advice is if you have no idea, no direction, you just want to be in the software development industry, is pick web development. That is by far and away the most in-demand job in the United States. There are more people, there's more jobs for that. So it gives you more opportunities to win a role if there's more openings for that. Other roles are more specialized and smaller. Doesn't mean you can't break in, but it just means that it's easier if you pick web development. Now, inside of web development, once you pick that, now you can go, oh, how do people build websites? And I think there's 3 primary ways that people are building websites. You can go after the JavaScript SPA route, which is a single page application, or you can go after what I call the postback types of scenarios, which is ASP.NET with MVC, maybe a Java with a Spring Boot, or you can go after like the microservices type route or just the web API route, and then you're putting JavaScript front ends on that. So those are the 3 primary ways. I think by far, in a way, still to this day, the middle one I just told you about, ASP.NET, has the most opportunities specifically for junior developers. But any of those ways will probably lead to employment. And so we pick a stack. Now, if you ask us, Kevin, and you say, I have no idea what I want to build, I have no idea what the stack is, we're going to give you a piece of advice that says do this, which is ASP.NET with C#, build full stack web development, interview for those roles, get a job after you interview those, and then specialize later.
Yep. So it's be specific
people
to start off with.
Is they learn 5 or 6 or 7 or 9 different things. And so they're picking the language based on what is easiest to learn, you know? And I go in the book, like, it's not about what's easy to learn. It's about what gets you a job. Right. So that's kind of that's step 1, learn to code.
Yep. So and that seems like it's a simple one, but it's not really. It's on the face of it, it's just like learn to code. And when we call it in the book, it is pick the stack, because it's not just learn to code. It's being very specific and doing your research before you've even learned anything. Make sure that you're going down the right path.
Yeah. So I'll see comments on our YouTube channel, and they'll say, "You've inspired me. I've learned .NET, and now I'm moving on to PHP." But you're not working yet. Like, you're not listening to me. Like, just stay with what you got. Learn that really well. Learn that as fast as you can, and then specialize. And people that come to us, and after you see me do this quite a bit, is like, I know PHP. Great. Yep. Should I switch to .NET? Do you have a job yet? No. Okay. Try to find a PHP role and learn that really well. Don't start over. It's going to take you another 3 to 6 to 9 months to get right back into this in the C# realm, when you could get a PHP role, get paid, and then learn C# on the weekends or at night or whatever to enhance your skills further.
Right. Yep.
I want you to get a job.
Exactly.
That's the goal.
And the best way to get that job is, before you've learned anything, is to do your research. Like we say, figure out where the jobs are at for your market, because it is different in different markets. We see you guys come and comment all the time, and like, every time on one of our, like, why you should learn C# videos, somebody's going to be like, well, C# sucks here. And I'm like, well, okay, that's we're literally telling you, do the research. You've got to pick the language and framework that you can get a job in. That's going to be your first step.
I think in the U.S., if you're living inside the U.S., C# is a really safe bet to go by. It's strongest. If you're over in Southeast Asia, you're in India, you're in Korea, you're in China, it may be Java over there. It may be that may be more relevant, because I do see those comments coming in. And if that's the case, then you have to learn Java. If you're in Africa, I have no idea what's going on in Africa. Europe, the kind of people we've definitely talked to that have been in Europe, they see a lot of .NET inside of Europe, London, those kind of things. Maybe that's because it's still like financial sectors, banking has similar sectors to what's inside the U.S. Yep. And maybe Southeast Asia, maybe that's more embedded, that's happening over there, or desktop that's happening over there, because they're building different types of things, and that's why maybe Java, or you'll see some other stacks out there.
So here's a question we get a lot when we're talking about this too. What about Python? We get this question literally every day. Thanks for the question, Starfish. We literally get this question every single time we come on here. Every single time.
Here's what I think you should know about Python. If you're going to learn Python, and that's going to be the route you take. See, everyone asks, they try to pick the language first, and they never like think about like, what am I trying to build?
Yep.
And so like, if you're in Python, you need to know where are people primarily using Python for? What are they using to build it for? And that is data science. So you need to focus in on the data science arena with Python, and that's where I think that's where you need to go, and you need to go to work with that. And I think, do people build websites with Python? Yes, but it's smaller. It's smaller than .NET. .NET's like this big. The Python's down here. There's smaller opportunities. Now, if you live in a town where all the consulting companies and everyone around you and every company around there is building websites with Python, then learn Python. But I think you're going to find that majority of the work is in the data science arena. And if that's what you want to do, then go after that. There's more to it than just learning the language, though. So you got to learn the library, the tooling, and like what kind of solutions.
Right. So Sakil is saying he's learning C# and .NET right now for this reason, for resisting the urge to get distracted by other languages. And then also says, any of the South Africans learning C#, noticing how high-paying C# developer jobs are. That's interesting that they are high-paying there. That's cool. Sakil, if you do want to link with anybody that's in here, go join the Discord server. The link is below, and then you guys can chat amongst yourself there about that stuff too. If you want to link up with anybody, there may be people in there already. So yeah, so that's step one.
That's step one.
So step two, now you've chosen what you want to learn. Now you have to choose how you want to learn it.
Yeah, exactly. And so like this may sound a little self-serving for us, and we don't want the channel to be like a commercial for Coder Foundry. But in general, we think there's 3 ways to learn. We think you can go the college route, the university route. It's going to take you 4 years, probably the most expensive route there. I would even debate that, do you really learn to code in university in the US or not? It's kind of depend on the program. You don't really code a whole lot. A lot of it's theory. That stuff's really good. Doesn't mean you can't break in with that. It's just like the most expensive route. And then it's like, no, I really learned to code there.
Right. Often from what we hear is not.
It's debatable.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And especially at the level at which you need to do to get a software job. So like, but CS degrees are valued. And sometimes when you interview with just a CS degree, they do give you the benefit of the doubt. And they're like, oh, they got a CS degree. Let's pull them in. They can learn it.
Here's the thing about all of these things, though, too. I will say for all 3 methods, you're going to be applying for the same job at the end of the day. Now, whether the company only looks at the CS degree and they put some weight in that and they give it to somebody who has a CS degree, the job that person is going to get is the same job you're going to get, regardless of your learning method. It doesn't give you you're not going to get a higher level because you have a CS degree. It's the same job.
Now, exactly. Now, the cheaper way that's also in the university route that's very similar is what we call here in the US the community college route. That's typically going to take you get your associates in programming, going to take you 2 years. Very, very affordable when compared to college. Very affordable that you can go to a community college. And probably you'll do more programming hardcore skill classes than you would at, say, a 4-year CS degree.
I would say especially in the US. If you're in the US and you take an Associates of Applied Science, it's literally in the name. It's applied. Right. So your learning will be more job focused than academic, which is great.
But here's the downside to that route. All right. So if you go to community college, they're going to dictate to you to what you learn. So sometimes, like my son went through community college and then he went to the boot camp here at Coder Foundry. Some classes were in like VB and VB.net. Yeah. And it's not like, it's like, okay, so like if you're going to do something like concrete like that, teach the thing that actually gets you a job. And so you have to end up translating those kind of things because it's not always super cutting edge.
Yep. The back-end language that I did in my course, which I didn't do. So I did a interactive media degree. That's what my degree is in. And the one elective that I chose was a back-end course, and it was PHP. So a little bit more relevant. Right. But I guarantee they chose it not with a focus on it being job-related, just because the teacher knew PHP.
Exactly.
That's why he was teaching it.
Right. And so sometimes when you're going through that 2-year curriculum, the instructors can change around, and then the language that you learn will also vary. And so you come out with, okay, you can say you have broad exposure, but you don't really follow through a complete narrative, and you're not building a portfolio. You're definitely not building some types of projects a lot of times. And so it's like you have a lot of disjointed learning experience. And so that's the way I look at it. So, but it doesn't mean that you can't get an applied science and break into, because people do, and it works. Okay. The second route is the boot camp route. That's what we do. We're a boot camp. We think boot camps are still the best way to do it, because typically you can pick the boot camp based on what you want to do. You can go to a data science boot camp. You can go to a C#.NET boot camp like Foundry. You can go to a MERN boot camp out there. I think there's a lot of JavaScript boot camps out there that teach the MERN stack. And maybe there's some out there teach the mean stack, like with Angular or React. So like you can really kind of dial in what you want to do. Typically boot camps should be, and you should evaluate about, what am I going to build at the end of the day? Do I have a portfolio when I walk out of there? And most of them are a lot like Foundry in that we teach project-based things. And so I think boot camps, and you have to go, not all boot camps are created equal. I'm not saying that every boot camp's great. I mean, you may have had a good or bad experience at where you're at. But at Foundry, what we're going to do is walk you through the process of building a portfolio and then building projects. And that's our approach. And so we think, but boot camps are expensive when compared to the third option, which is learn by on your own.
Right.
So but it's cheaper than definitely 4-year college. Yep. So like it's sort of in the middle in cost. And so
in the middle of cost, yep. And as far as time to market, it's the fastest
3 months,
out of the three.
Typically, there's some other boot camps that have a longer time to market, maybe a 24-week time or a 9-month time. They're typically not going full time where you go day. The reason we do 3 is because we're there every single day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
I would also say there's
final option.
Sorry, go ahead.
Now I was going to say the final option was just learn on your own. We can talk about that in a second.
Right. I was just going to say before we talk about learning on your own, there's also a way that you could do this kind of using all of these methods too, which we've talked about before, and it's the hidden trick of taking and getting a 2-year degree. Let's say it's that. You do a little bit of self-learning on your own. You go to community college. You get a 2-year degree. You then know enough to get a job. You take the job, right, and then the company now pays you to get the 4-year degree. They often have tuition reimbursement. Right. You're getting paid in the meantime, so you could technically pay for it yourself, but you're not going into debt over it. But often the companies will actually pay you to do that too. So it's kind of like a hidden way of getting the 4-year degree, but also getting to market quick.
Right. That's what I think. And finally, there's the self-paced route, which a lot of you may be watching this. You may never come to Foundry. And so this is why we're making a self-paced course so that you can teach yourself. And you need to take a course. And the same thing holds true in step 1. Figure out what you want to build, pick the stack, and then arrange your courses. Typically, up until the point to where our self-paced course comes out, you had to go to Udemy and kind of like assemble your own curriculum, or you're going to free code camp trying to assemble your own curriculum. And that's the hard part of it, is trying to like stay focused,
staying focused,
and pick the right courses.
Yeah. It's
now,
tough.
What I would say this is a lot of people think that I can take one course from Udemy and then get a job. I don't think that's quite the case. I think you need to think of it in terms of like all the things I need to know, which I think if you're going after 5 of the full stack, you need to know 5 things. This is why we give out the Fluent 5 t-shirt when you graduate from Foundry. Is you need HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You need to know server-side language like C#, and then a SQL language, SQL, either using SQL or Postgres or something like that. I think those are the 5 things. Yeah.
And this is exactly true what Paul's saying. The issue with learning on your own is you have to find your own path. And Paul knows this very well. He went down this path. It took him 5 years to figure this out. So listen to him when he's talking about this. And dealing with the uncertainty, you're learning the right thing. And you'll find yourself chasing stuff, especially if it goes over a year, 2 years. You're going to be like, oh man, that thing was hot last year. Now it's not. Maybe I've learned the wrong thing and I'm going to go learn this other thing. And before you know it, you've learned Rust and Dino. and like,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, and and you got to move on to something else. So you got to be careful.
You just insulted a lot of the Rust fans out there,
Sorry,
Kevin. You know, so I think
all
we're gonna get
three of
the hate
them
mails
who have
coming in right
jobs.
now.
I mean, come on.
So one of the mistakes you can make is, and it seems counterintuitive, is you will ask another developer, what should I be learning? And typically these developers will tell you what they like, but not necessarily what they won't tell you what they're being paid to do. And so like those are always two different things. This is what I'm doing, you know, like I'm like way into Laravel right now, you know, like, what? Is that what
There was a bunch of years.
Absolutely, 100%.
There was a bunch of years that Rust appeared like the #1 like programming language thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
come on, you know, look at the jobs, man. There's like 3 in the country. Like, what are you doing?
Three.
I don't get
Three
it.
people doing Rust.
I don't get it. Yeah, 3 people doing it professionally, but every developer was like working on it on the side because it was cool for some reason. I don't know. Whatever.
Right. So like, so you need to focus in what's in demand. And we think the best way to do that, and I think this is our step 3 is, once you've learned to code, you've built your portfolio, you've built your project, is work with a recruiter. And so that recruiter is talking to companies, and the company's saying, hey, I need a .NET guy, or I need a PHP guy, or I need a Python guy. They're telling them what they want, and therefore they can tell you what's in demand in the marketplace.
Yep.
So, and they're easy to talk to. They'll talk to you. Just find them on LinkedIn, and
that's technically our 5th step in the process. We jumped a couple, but
did I skip it?
No, but it's relevant to talk about at this point. And I think that's fine. We don't have to talk about that in order. I think
exactly.
I think it's totally fine. But that is kind of the 5th step in the process. But it kind of like, it is something you can. It's like one of those. It's like a floating point because you're going to have to engage with a recruiter at some point. So, but step 3 is actually build the portfolio, which because you got to show them something, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so like, and I guess I kind of like meld these together because I talk about it so much. But like during your learning process, you should definitely be building a portfolio with projects that you can demo. That's what you want to do. Hey, Kevin, we got a new member up there. We should announce that. Randy.
We do. I see that now. Member. I just saw that pop up. So Randy, and I hope I pronounced your last name right. Bartels. Is it Bartels? I hope that's right. Randy, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you for becoming a channel member. And thank you to our other ones who are up here too. BK, who I know is here, who commented at the beginning, and John and Catherine and Drew. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And thank you for the overlapping super chats from last time too. I never thanked Brian actually. I don't know if Brian's here now. I haven't seen him comment, but he super chatted us that $20 at the end of right at the end of one of our and we'd already gone off, and I saw it coming afterwards.
We'd already gone off there.
We'd already gone off. I almost jumped back on just to thank him. Exactly. I almost jumped back on to thank him. So thank you, Brian. Now. We appreciate it.
Yeah, Brian, Quick, Spencer, Gabanoth, and Tech Rally. Our friend Alex from New York.
Yeah, I haven't seen here today. I don't know if Alex is here today. He's probably busy working. Yeah. He got his gig at Amazon, so they're like driving him now to sell stuff or something. I don't know what he's working on. I need to ask him.
That's it, man. He's working hard. But anyway, so that's kind of what you do. You basically need to build a portfolio that demonstrates skills. And what we have to say in the book, and a lot of things that we're talking about now, is like the portfolio needs to be attractive. People are visual buyers. We go into that detail. And then the projects need to solve a business problem so that it's easily recognizable when they see it. And that's why we recommend building a bug tracker all over the place, because we think the bug tracker is the perfect project that you can use to demonstrate skill, because it has so much in it that anytime someone asks you an interview question, you can typically relate that interview question to one of the features in the bug tracker. So it solves security, solves a business problem, is immediately recognizable. We talk about this in the terms of like when you meet someone for the first time, and if they have like a sports hat on, that's your team, like a Cubs hat. I see a Cubs fan walking around. I can talk to them about the Cubs or the Bulls or the Raiders. As BK knows here, one of our channel members, friend now, he sends me stuff about the Raiders, and we had 5 offensive linemen last year, and all 4 of them are gone in free agency, and we have 1 guy left. And it's like, what are we doing? I'm like, I don't know, BK. I think I need to go talk to Gruden. I need to figure that out.
Right.
But that gives you a bond when you have something that's in common. So when you show a bug tracker, immediately that interviewer kind of knows what it is, and so therefore they can look at it and judge it if it's good or bad.
You know what's interesting about the bug tracker project now? That video is up to, I don't know what it's up to now, 800,000 views, something like that. We're gonna get a million views on that video. It'll be our first million view video, I'm sure. It's still doing very well. You know, you're now like Bobby Bug Tracker Davis, right? That's gonna be your thing.
Yeah, is that what it is?
The next book cover, right here, is gonna have that. It's gonna be like Bobby Bug Tracker Davis Jr.
Oh,
hey, thank you
for super chatting us up. $15. Thanks, man.
That's awesome. Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it. So if you've got a question, we'll
he doesn't.
So he said, what did he say?
He just says no question. Just want to say thanks for the live stream's continual advice. That's awesome. No,
okay,
thank you.
Cool.
Appreciate it,
man.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad we're helping you out. Hopefully we do. And yes, we're good.
That'll get us tacos.
Awesome.
Okay, so yes, that's portfolio. We have a lot of videos about portfolio and things you should put on there. We're thinking this year we may come up with a new project too that kind of fits the criteria. We're working on that at the minute too. So that could be an extension to our self-paced course as well, right? But we're going to probably we'll do a YouTube video for that too at some point. So we're thinking that through. Because it's kind of funny. We had somebody at some point tell us like, oh, like you're the bug tracker guy. Like, and it's like, exactly. Oh, the bug tracker. Yeah, I've heard of that bug tracker project. And it's become like this, like everybody like, oh, these guys all show up to an interview with a bug tracker. And we're sitting back like,
yes,
like, because we know it works.
I think one of the most rewarding things that we have when we started the YouTube channel is sometimes I will get in the mentions or I'll respond to people on YouTube. Specifically, what I really look for on YouTube is I follow people that are learning to code and they've got problems or whatever issues, and I'll respond back, and they just like, that's where that came from. That guy says, "Oh, you're that bug tracker guy." I'm like, "Yeah, you need to build one. Like, get after it." You know, like,
We've communicated with some of the channels and be like, "Oh, you're the bug tracker channel." Like, I will claim it. That's us. Look, Kevin says the bug tracker is
the new Yelp camp. I wish it was, but like, yeah, we'll get there. So we're gonna make it famous.
We will get there.
I've looked at the Yelp camp. I think bug tracker is better than Yelp camp because it solves a business problem. That's our whole thing. Our whole trick to the method to our madness is, when you show a bug tracker, they're going to go, wow, that's cool. Because like they use one every single day. Very few people, you have to explain to them what Yelp camp is.
Right.
You know, a lot of people haven't been, hiking or pitch a tent somewhere.
Right.
So,
right.
Do it.
Okay, so portfolio stuff, we talked about that a lot. If you want to see more portfolio stuff, go to our channel. And if you haven't watched a bunch of the portfolio stuff or the One Coding Project, go to our channel, look at our most popular videos. You'll see that, the most popular one there. Watch it. It's worth watching. Yep. We have a lot of other portfolio stuff on there on our channel too. You can go check that out if you haven't checked it out before. But I'm sure most of you guys have.
Yeah. And if you want to ask a question, just leave it in chat for Kevin. If you want to guarantee it, just hit us on the super chat. We'll try to answer your question live.
Yep.
So
I have queued up a bunch here.
4?
Yeah, I've queued up a bunch, so we'll get to that. So yeah, So the fourth one, our fourth tip within the book is learning to talk about your code. And this is we're gonna have a hot video on this, a hot take on this tomorrow. Yeah. We literally made a video about this tomorrow.
The reason I'm bringing this up, and I'm back to that Twitter Spaces. I remember I called you right away, and I'm like, these apparently. What I've been saying for the last, I guess, week and a half now, and we're also training the current students in it. And I remember talking to a current student right now in the boot camp. So if you're watching, I'm not going to out you. You're doing the right thing. But this guy named Zachary came through our boot camp. He's now working. We're not even finished with the boot camp. We end up next Friday. I think it was like week 6. He's already interviewing.
Yep.
We had a guy reach out to me yesterday that said, hey, I demoed and he was telling me all about his stuff, and he'd been looking for a while, but this was the first time that he had demoed during the interview.
Yep.
And then as soon as he demoed, he's on to the next step, or he nailed it or whatever. And so I don't know why this is seemingly like advice that's not common. I don't understand it. Like when I was in that Twitter space and they were talking about all of these things, how to win a tech interview. And I'm like, dude, just demo your project. And I think what it is like most people don't have custom built projects. I think that's the problem.
Right.
And so
we know this is true because we've looked at.
Yeah.
we know this is true because we've looked at a lot of people's portfolios. We'll look at other like bootcamp grad portfolios or people in just general. They'll tweet stuff out. They'll be like, "Oh, check out my portfolio," and we'll look at them sometimes, and we'll sometimes talk about it. If somebody stands out, we'll be like, "Man, you check that portfolio? Like that was a great app," or like, "You check that out? Like they only had like one team project on it. Like they, that person's never going to get hired with that on there." So we do look at a lot of these, and you guys have sent us portfolios before, and we've looked at a lot of different portfolios, so we understand where ours fit in the ecosystem.
Yeah. And I think what it is like we interview for tech jobs like we were interviewing for random customer service or random office worker job. We put them in that same category. And what I want you to start thinking about, if you're here learning to code and you want to break in, you need to interview like a graphic designer does or some kind of content creator would.
Yep.
So if, for example, when Christopher Nolan pitches a movie to them, typically he's walking in with either he's mocked up something that he shot in his own thing. Yeah, he's made something. Yeah. He has a pitch that he has to do. Now, maybe Christopher Nolan is so good and so famous that he can just show Inception and like, I'm just going to make another movie. What is it about? And they're like, I don't care, Christopher, make what you want.
But trust me, his first one, he didn't do that. His first one, he had to show something. He had to.
Had to show what he's going to do. And so my famous, the most famous one that I remember, but I saw a lot of pitch movies. And dang, it just escaped me. It doesn't really matter anyway. So you got to have a pitch movie that you come in and they're showing like, here's what it is. I think Deadpool got made because Ryan Reynolds released the pitch movie.
It got leaked
on YouTube. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it got leaked by somebody who wasn't Ryan Reynolds. Like,
yeah,
Ryan Reynolds put it out. He knew what he was doing. He's a smart guy.
Exactly. And so, like, but you got to understand, these people go out and make things, and as the bigger you get and the more famous you get, these pitch movies they're making are probably more and more elaborate, and they may spend a lot of money trying to make them or whatever, because they know that the payoff is big. So, the more complex projects you can make, the bigger the job is that you're going to be able to interview for. And so, like, you have to be able to talk about your code. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to show you tomorrow on YouTube. If you're a subscriber, please subscribe. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to do a mock interview tomorrow with one of our teaching staff here to show you, like, when I talk about your code, answering questions, how you do it. Yep. And if you can do this naturally, you'll get a job, man. Like, everyone that does it, they win every single time.
So just to clarify, this is an instructor, our instructor Antonio, who's director of education at Foundry. He's playing a person at a company hiring Bobby, who's coming for the interview. So it's great. I watched this thing back as I'm editing it, and I'm like, wow, this is great. I'm like, afterwards I watched this thing, I was like, you're really good at this. Like, this is people can definitely get stuff from this. This is great content, and I think it is. So yeah, we put we put some like little tool tips around it, and we put like there'll be a little intro part to it, and yeah, it's going to be a good video. It comes out tomorrow, so look out for it.
But I think talking about your code or demoing answers to technical questions is the secret. That is the secret sauce. And if you looked at all the successful people that get tech jobs, they either do this naturally or they practice it. And what I'm saying, since it's so uncommon, you need to practice this. I promise you, the people that was in that Twitter space that are giving this advice that get jobs and they're saying it's, this is what you got to do, but they're not talking about demoing. I guarantee you, they do that naturally.
Yeah, they did it unknowingly.
Doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They talk about code without doing a demo, but they have the code memorized, or that's like one of their innate skills where they take an abstract answer and relate it to a concrete thing they built, and they can do that from memory. Most of us can't. We need help. We need slides, we need like notes, we need things like that. And I'm saying use your source code as your notes, and then show the source code, and then walk them through the source code, and it's super powerful. And you watch me do it tomorrow, and I'll and this is the same thing we're instructing Coder Foundry grads to do, which I think is the most powerful thing that we do in the bootcamp, is trying to get them to believe to do this. So I was interviewing, I mock interviewed a lot of students. I was talking to one, and he goes, you're no joke, Bobby. This actually works because Zach got a job, and that's the best proof you ever need. I'm like, dude, like just demo the stuff. I mean,
Right.
what Zach did
Right.
is great, but like, listen to me, man. Just demo.
Yep.
And you can win.
Definitely.
All right, cool.
Okay, so that
That's
leads
it.
us on to our last step, which is recruiter, which we kind of talked about a little bit already, and we'll just talk about this real quick, and then we'll do some questions.
Yeah, exactly. And our last one is what? Work with
It's
recruiters.
recruiter, yeah, work with recruiter. Yep.
Yeah. So working with recruiters and basically go to LinkedIn. I'm just going to give you a name here. Look up in the U.S. and I know they're international too. You can look up Tech Systems, and there's probably a recruiter if you're in the U.S. in your state, in your city that's local. Look them up. Reach out to them on LinkedIn and get on their radar. Make sure that you have. And we're not affiliated with Tech Systems, but I think if you work with them and you can get in on a recruiter and build a rapport with the recruiter, you can get a job a lot faster because they're talking to companies that you're not going to get into. So many of you guys are out there blindly submitting resumes and applying for jobs and putting them into the vacuum of an HR scanner, and you're not getting results. And so we see so many people saying, and I applied for 600 jobs and I didn't get one call back. This sucks. No one hires junior devs. And what they don't understand is that the salespeople at these recruiting companies are already talking to the hiring manager, and they're circumventing that whole process. So if you have a recruiter working for you, they're going to walk your resume and send it over to that person. The next thing that you can do is make sure on the top of your resume that portfolio is like in like 18-point font at the top. See my portfolio here, so they can look at your code. And you want that hiring manager to look at it. The other thing you can use your portfolio to is use your portfolio with the recruiter to get them to believe that they should work with you. Say, look at my portfolio, look at my projects, and they'll say, okay, now I have an artifact that I can sell you into a company with. Let's go to market. And then work with 5 recruiters if you can. So look at the national companies and just keep going down the list. There's also, if you're in the US, I guarantee you there's regional or local recruiting companies that you can also work with. Maybe in, like in Kernersville, the tech capital of the world, there's several local ones that you can work with that can also have jobs that you can't get to. They might even be posted. Other than that, you're going to Indeed and you're trying to find jobs on Indeed and you're trying to post your resume. Now, if you do post blindly through a job board or whatever, it's up to you to go research that company, find the hiring manager on LinkedIn, link into them directly and call them. If you're going to be your own recruiter, that's fine, but you've got to do the follow-up. Don't blindly post resumes out there. You're just not going to win.
Yep. Your recruiter is going to be your advocate. They're going to be the one that is also incentivized for you to get a job too. You're not.
Yep.
It's
They'll
not
pay you.
Exactly. They don't get paid unless you get paid. That's how it works. It's a common myth that people think you gotta. Oh man, a recruiter. I can't afford a recruiter. I gotta pay somebody $10,000 to do that. No, you don't. You don't pay them anything. If a recruiter asks you for any money, run. They're not a recruiter.
Right. It's just not. Yeah, it's not a good thing.
It's always going to be free to you.
That's
Okay. You do some
the
questions?
5 steps. If you want to read all the stuff about it, you can purchase the book, Breaking the Code.
Yep, I have a copy.
If not, we just gave you most of the information in there, other than we didn't show you the sweet Spider-Man drawing in there. So.
Which is on page what again?
69 or 96,
let me
I think.
personally look at it. I can't show it for copyright reasons. But it's on 95. It's
95.
Good stuff.
It's good stuff.
It's right here on 95. It's good stuff. Okay, so let's do some questions. Oh, by the way, there is a link to the book down in the description below. If you want to, if you're interested in buying, you can get the Amazon link down there. I think you can get it just about everywhere. I'm not sure now. There may be some places you can't, and I apologize if you can't. Okay, let's do some questions. We have under 10 minutes, but I have a few here. Do these. So, Adrik has a question. Says, I talked on the phone with a recruiter for .NET on an aerospace manufacturing plant. Oh, that's cool. Interesting. I won't graduate college until December. Should I take this job if they offer or stay in school to graduate? Good question.
So I'm probably going to give you the advice that I'm assuming that you're kind of younger and your parents may hate me for this, but if you get an offer, I would take it and I would finish that degree online,
100%.
part-time.
I would say exactly the same thing.
Yep. Why are you going to college? To learn or get a job? It's to get a job. That's what you do. It's the same thing when people complain about people leaving high school to go to the NBA, like they're somehow selling out. Like,
yeah, like,
dude, where are you going to get a job like that?
And LeBron didn't even go to college. He must suck.
I know. That's like what, that's the whole point. So like the whole point is to work as a developer at a manufacturing plant, aerospace manufacturing. That's awesome, man. We have several here around us, Honda Jets around here. And so like, I think that's amazing. If you're local, that's probably where you're interviewing at. If you're not, it's Boeing or if you're up in the Northwest. But I would definitely take that job and then I would just finish my degree online.
Exactly. So it seems like you have less than a year to do in your degree. I would totally, and like my advice earlier was take the job, then take the tuition reimbursement from the company, because I guarantee you an aerospace manufacturing company has tuition reimbursement. Take that and get that to pay for the rest of your degree and do it on the side online. 100%.
And that's what I would do. And then we also recommend in our book is take the first job offer you get. Don't try to be super picky unless you have special skills and talents and you think you're worth more than everything else. The first job that you get, the first offer you get, maybe the only offer you get. You can't predict the future. All you can do is look at what you currently have in front of you. So take that job, get experience. And your whole goal is breaking into software developer is get 1 year experience. And then once you have that 1 year on your resume, getting new gigs or new opportunities is a lot easier than breaking in with no experience. So take the job, dude, if you get it.
Yep, definitely. Okay. Just to talk about this real quick. We talked about this earlier, but we'll talk about it again real quick. And Nick wants to know, is the possibility of getting the virtual course outside the US? Yes, it will be global. You can buy it from wherever.
Global.
I believe it's global. It's on so wherever. I'm guessing it's hooked up with Stripe eventually, for like payment type of thing. So wherever you can pay with Stripe. I know there's some limitations on that, but it's I'm gonna say it's almost all of the world.
Yeah. So, I haven't really thought about that. I just assumed it was, but if it's not, if they're blocking US URLs, then yeah, maybe.
And if that's the case, we'll sort something out in that case.
We'll sort something out and let us know, and we'll figure something out. We
can figure it out somehow. But yes, and as of when, we're hoping April at this point. We're working on it hard right now. We're a little bit behind our original goal.
Yeah, it's just like hundreds
and
hundreds of hours of video, and so and then a lot of documentation and typing, and there's just a lot of work.
It's a lot of stuff.
But it's gonna be cool.
It's a lot of stuff. Hey, look, EJ just bought a copy of the book. Thank you, EJ. We super appreciate it. And I know a couple of other you guys have bought it previously too, and I thank everyone who's ever bought it.
I can confirm. No better drawing than that drawing of Spider-Man.
That's funny. That's funny. So thank you, EJ, and thank you to everybody who's ever bought the book. We super appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Okay, our next question. Not really a question, this is just a comment here. So Esco says, after studying business information systems, got a role as an IT consultant, joined a coding bootcamp, learned Python and JS. So should have ideally chose C# as the company currently use it.
Yep.
We see that comment a lot.
And so here's the thing, Esco. What I think that is the other hidden secret, why people win. And people, I don't know why. Again, this is uncommon advice, Kevin. I don't really understand why. It seems very logical to me. Is if you're interviewing at a place that does C#, show them C# things.
Right.
It's much stronger.
Align it.
It's like when I hear like the advice I get on the Twitter space is like, what should I learn? And then they're saying it doesn't matter. I'm like, of course it matters. It doesn't mean that you can't cross over into another language, but as a junior, and you want to give yourself the best chance, and PHP, interview for a PHP role. But yeah, if you're working at a company that's doing .NET, C Sharp, that's what you should be studying, because you're going to be more valuable to that company.
Yep.
You know, unless they're going to break into data science with Python. So, but that's not bad. You already have a job, so yeah. My advice in the book is, once you get a job, then expand later, and if you're doing that, that's great. So,
definitely. Okay. Nick says, "Hey Bobby, do you think that the future is in remote work, or do you think after this pandemic it will business as usual work in office? I wonder, as my hometown in Croatia does not offer many jobs in C Sharp."
Okay.
Interesting.
In the U.S., I'm going to talk about the U.S. I have no idea what's going on in Croatia. I mean, like, so far as like, what are they doing and what are they coding in? In the U.S., I think there's going to be a lot more remote opportunities. But I've told this: if you can get on with a company and you're a junior and you can work in the same room with other developers, I think it helps your career starting out. As you get more and more senior, you need less and less interaction with other programmers. So I don't think that that's necessarily. I'm talking about you as developing as a programmer. It's better to work in the office with other programmers. I think every company is going to vary what they're going to do. I have no idea what's going to happen. I think remote work will be way more accepted because we've been doing it for a year now, and companies had to say, okay, this kind of works. But
Yeah.
like my favorite company, not my favorite company, the game I play, Destiny, they have a tech blog now, which is very fascinating. They talk about the very deep dive into like what they do.
Yeah.
But they talked about how COVID impacted their schedules. And like, to me, that sounds like in some cases, when you have to have a high degree of like,
It's like interactivity between
it's
employees.
it's probably better in person, because like sometimes you just need to yell at the cube, "Hey, what you doing?" And it's harder to get on a Zoom call or on a Teams call at a drop of a hat when you have 450 people pulling together to build the same thing.
Exactly.
So I think it's going to be a mixture. I mean, I really do. I mean, I don't know, but the thing is, what I want to caution people on, especially as junior, working from home isn't or should never be considered that's the nirvana of programming, because it can get boring and very lonely, and you can get depressed because you don't talk to humans.
Right.
So second, getting up, getting ready, putting on your work clothes, driving to work or walking to work or riding your bike to work, that function alone also helps the mental aspect of your life.
Yep.
So I think there's some benefits, and I understand, like, yeah, I can go there and get COVID and die. I get that too, but like, hopefully these kind of vaccines will cure us from that.
Exactly.
Make it less risky.
Exactly. We're at 1 o'clock. I'm going to do another one here. Actually, another couple. There's another couple good ones. So, as she says, they are 18 years old, been programming for 2 years, currently learning React, and just wondering about their learning curve. Will you please guide me how to be a master in React? You had a hot take on React the other day.
Oh, I did. So React is a look at the Punisher logo. That's kind of cool. But so if you're 18, to be a master in React, it's just going to take time. And so I think what you should be focusing on is building full stack web applications. So React being your front end framework that allows you to do binding from the back end. I think what you should be learning is React plus something like Web API with C# on the back end that communicates to a database. That's the thing that you need to know how to do. Now, can you do it Node? Absolutely, you can do it Node. That's called the merge stack. And you go Mongo, React, Node. You can do that. I just think that you're going to be more useful. No, I'm not say useful, in demand with Web API and something like SQL. But either way, I think what you need to do is build full stack and build full stack projects. So you've been doing this for 2 years. You should be well on your way enough to where you can build your own project. So go ahead and build a bug tracker, go build a stock tracking app, go build a mortgage loan app, do all of those things, something that solves a business problem, that implements security, and that hits a database. And that's what you need to be doing next if you've been doing this for 2 years. And you're 18, that's kind of cool. So you should be able to break in pretty soon here.
Let's do one last question, the other end of the spectrum. So Jess says, so 51, I'm not too old.
No, you're not. I'm 53. So like, I'm still learning stuff. So, but I mean, I get it. I got, 30 years experience on it. But like, we've seen people from as high as 59 go to our boot camp, get a job walking out of here. So it's really individually. How do you feel at 51? Are you willing to say, okay, for the next 10 or 15 years, I want to go on a learning journey and I'll constantly be learning new things. Or at 51, are you saying I've learned everything I need to know and I'm just going to sit here and just trying to trade on what I want, and you're not really interested or have the energy to like learn new things? And I think that's the difference. I think I've got a guy on my staff here that's above 60 that's just like brilliant, constantly learning new things, brilliant.
Right.
So like, so I think it just matters on you. Just know that being a programmer, being a software developer is a constant learning journey, and that there is an effort or a certain amount of energy that you have to expel to convince yourself, okay, I'm going to go down this learning path again. So me, I had to learn .NET 5 last year, and that was like I had to, yes, I have stuff walking in, but there's a lot of changes, a lot of things, and you just gotta you gotta like to do it or you don't. And a lot of people do age out because they don't want to like go through that grind again.
Right. Because you're right, because it is a constant grind. It's constant. We talk about this a lot, but you become a forever learner because you have
forever.
To. And if you don't like being a forever learner, it may not be the right career choice for you.
Okay.
And that's okay.
Look, Kevin, it's 1:05. Why don't we do this? Why don't we let's go overtime here, because I feel like I talk too much. I want to see if you got any other good questions out there. Maybe we'll go to 1:15.
I got a couple more. Hold on. Let me see here. Big Goose says, I can confirm that the LinkedIn recruiter is the best way. I applied to hundreds of jobs. I did get a lot of interviews, but the recruiter got me a next day interview. Then I got hired the next day. So there you go. Literally just, hundreds of jobs.
People don't understand this. Yes.
To go to one.
That's what you need to be doing.
Yeah, that's it.
If you don't listen to me, listen to the Big Goose. The Big Goose went out there and did it.
There you go.
So.
That's it. Let's look here. Let's do. I didn't queue up too many. Let me do one. Let's do one more. Austin just says, feeling. Actually, been wondering if I had enough experience to go into software dev. I have 1 year, 3 months of experience. But I mentioned it earlier. You're only 1 year. I feel pretty good. You should feel pretty good. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, build a project. Show that project. Say you got 1 year and 3 months. You're going to get hired, man. I mean, like that's enough. You're not interviewing for, senior level jobs. You're just interviewing for a job where you get a paycheck. I mean, that's the whole goal. 1 year, 3 months is great. That's awesome.
Right.
There you go. I feel pretty good.
Ben says, do you have to learn every rendition of .NET?
I don't think so. I think we're just teaching .NET 5 right now. And then but
going forward, November, you will, right? Because it's been a little bit different in the past. Like you've never looked back and retroactively learned something, but you've certainly learned everything new as it's come out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess moving forward,
there's going to be a lot of, and Ben's right. There's a lot of ASP.NET, what we call .NET Framework 4 or 5 projects out there that are trying to move over to the new .NET 5. So hopefully Microsoft in their annual releases will they're trying to get rid of that kind of legacy stuff. I mean, but I was in on a project, Ben, that was like ASP legacy, man, like ASP, classic ASP. That was just like painful. Painful.
It's when you get something like that and you look back and then you realize like how far it's come and like you're thankful for all this extra stuff that you didn't realize was so good. That's the same with anything. It's the same with video editing stuff. You find you get this old project in something, you look at old software and you're like, man, how did I do without like content aware fill and like it,
Yeah, exactly. So I would say, Ben, the cool thing about it is once you're a developer and you get on a project and it's in .NET 4 or 5 and you've been doing .NET 5 or 6 or 7 or something like that, and you got back and do some old stuff, they're going to pay you to learn it. And that's the cool part. That you sit there and just figure out what it is that they want to do and what they're doing, and they pay you to learn that new thing. But you don't have to know everything. So
that's it. Okay, so we'll be back on Tuesday with another live. We have this other video coming out tomorrow with the mock interview. I think it's going to be a good one. We recorded the sort of the extra bits for that, so I'm going to work on editing that this afternoon. That's going to be out tomorrow. So please go like and
Paul
love that.
what he missed my hot take yesterday or Tuesday. He wanted to know what the hot
Nah, he
take was.
didn't. He was there. What
He
the
said,
React
"What?
thing?
I missed the hot take."
Yeah, but you
All right,
didn't.
so here was
Well,
my
you
hot take on React. I'm gonna read. I just want to redo it because I think it's a good hot
okay?
take, and I think people are
Go for it.
interested in.
I'm gonna solo
this.
you. There you go. Have at it.
This solo. So, Paul, my hot take yesterday was I want you to think about this. If Facebook is putting 20% of the workforce, some 10,000 people, over to AR and VR, do you believe that React is their primary thing? And when you compare their primary thing, which is obviously AR and VR, and then social media, it's not React. What do you think the longevity of React is going to be? Now, the other part of this, other half of this uptake is when you go over and look at Microsoft, what is Microsoft's primary thing? They're building tooling, C#, Azure. They're more of a developer-focused company. I'm sure they had a meeting when React and Angular came out, and they had a meeting and they said, this React thing is kind of cool. This Angular thing is kind of cool. What should we do? And I'm sure they batted around. Should we make a JavaScript front-end framework? I mean, is that what we should do? What did they do? No, they built Blazor. And so like when they build Blazor, that's their response to React. Could they have built a React Angular type clone on Microsoft? 100% they could have did that. They decided not to. They just included them as templates inside of Visual Studio so they can use them because they said, oh, that's a nice front-end framework, but we believe the future is Blazor and that's where it's going to go. And then that was my hot take on it. And so I think React is, while it's very cool, ultimately it's a front-end binding framework. It's not an ecosystem like .NET. Anyway, that's my hot take, Kevin.
Look. Hold on. Look. He says, I remember now. He's in denial. That's funny.
I'm not saying, and we'll find, I'm not saying React's going out of their Facebook is killing React. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that when you're basing your career on something, just look around and see kind of like, okay, Microsoft's kind of, maybe that's where I should be looking at. Maybe I should like take one of my eyes and look over there and see what they're doing. Yeah, because that's kind of where it's going to go.
That's it. No, so, after we talked about that on Tuesday, I was like, wow, I love that take on that. It's like because it makes sense. I think that's why, because it makes sense. It's logical. Yeah. Like you just think it through.
I mean, they could have like purchased the Vue source code and just called Vue, MS Vue, and just
right.
I mean, they have billions and billions of dollars.
Yep.
They did none of those things, and that's what should like. I wonder why? Because when they set out to improve JavaScript, they made TypeScript. They're like, okay, yeah, JavaScript sucks. We need to make it better. Yeah, we'll make TypeScript.
Yep. Oh, I didn't even know this. Did you know this? Paul says there was a React VR. I think they might have given up on it. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's interesting because
you can't do everything in JavaScript, man.
Hold on, you can upset people saying that.
You can't. I mean, like, well, no, there's some things you can do, but the question is, should you do it? Like, in other words, should you go through the pain and the effort of trying to make JavaScript be something that it's not? And that's
right.
That's where other languages are better suited for doing things. So C++, if you're writing a game engine, obviously that's where you need to be. If you're writing a high-level game engine and Unity has that built in, C#'s a better language for that. Same with that VR platform. That's going to be Unity, man. I mean, like that's what's all those VR glasses are going to run on for right now. Yep. And there'll be some other players that'll come out.
They have a so I know they have a what is it called? Oculus has a new thing that I actually got a beta invite to. I didn't even ask for it. But they have a new kind of space thing where it's like a virtual, like you show up as a virtual person in a space. It's a VR like community space, and that has developer tools. Yeah. I'm actually gonna look at that because that has developer tools where you can build stuff in it. I don't know what language they're learning. I'll look at that for next time. I'll bring that back next time.
We'll check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's time to eat tacos, Kevin.
It is.
Appreciate it. Stopping by, and we'll look out for the video tomorrow, and we'll see you guys Tuesday. Good luck. And just keep coding, guys. See you later.
See you guys later.